Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of the Deus Ex Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Arron. To my right, as always, is Sureyya. To my left is Marty Adams.
Hi.
That was so boring, Marty. I gotta act it up a little bit. If we don't get the racism out of the way now, it'll come as too much of a surprise later on. Well, there is that thing, though. Did you guys hear about the new thing with like the YouTube algorithm?
No.
This is a bit of a side tangent.
What, racism that's on the front page?
Kind of. No. But apparently there's a thing when they're checking to see whether or not a channel should be, or like a video should be demonetized. The algorithm only checks the first 30 seconds. So they're like, hey, keep the thumbnail clean, keep the title clean, keep the 30 seconds clean. We won't know about it.
Stay tuned to the Underworld Podcast. Exclusive content.
I appreciate you eating during the middle of the podcast, Marty.
I saw it or something. Yeah.
Anyways, we're changing up the way we're going to be doing episodes, the order of them. So now we used to do movie review, roundtable, back and forth alternating. Now we're going to do our full rotation for the genre of movies and then do a roundtable. So it wasn't announced, but for this episode we're going to get right off into our drama rotation. Drama! With The Graduate from 1967. What?
That was good for 1967.
It's because it's a Criterion collection.
Nice.
That's why they're $35 a piece. So I guess maybe we should start off just going around to everyone's first time watching it. Impressions, I think it was both of your guys' first times. So maybe just what you were expecting going in before we get into not spoiler thoughts. Marty, if you want to start us off.
I could not have predicted what the plot was about. The beginning, it caught me really off guard, and it was a cringe fest the entire time. It was great. I loved it.
Sureyya, what about you? You were very resistant on watching The Graduate. You were not happy when I picked it.
Because it's our lives right now. In a sense.
Are you fucking your father's business partner's wife?
No. That would make me lesbian.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I'm actually bi, okay?
Let's stop the problem.
I did not see that ending coming. I thought the ending was going to go in a completely different direction.
Okay.
Because you've explained to me, like, what happens throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I thought Dustin Hoffman and the chick, that was all the movie was, with a little bit of side plot thrown in. But, I mean,
yeah.
It caught me off guard, and I also thought it was a cringe fest. Like, I was shouting Marty.
Yeah, like I was doing anything.
I think it's important to point out, though, for people who haven't seen it, that it's an intentional cringe fest.
Yes.
It's not cringe because it's so bad.
It's cringe because it's super relatable in a characterized way.
Yeah.
It made me do a lot of 360s.
You were like a dog. Get up, writhing in cringe, do a tight circle, and then
I covered my face.
You did cover your face in the
with a
blanket.
I had to move to ease some of the pain.
Well, so this was my choice, because I go first in our genre rotations. This was my second time seeing The Graduate. The first time I saw it, probably 5 to 6 years ago, when I was in high school in a film course. Didn't really get it. Didn't completely click with me. I remember thinking that it was kind of funny, but that the character was just really lame. Dustin Hoffman's character, Ben. I was just like, what the fuck's the point of this movie at all?
And then the existentialism hits you after you graduate.
Yeah.
To realize where it's coming from.
Yeah, and I guess we should probably just get into spoilers then.
Yeah.
So we can actually talk about it. And I think the biggest, the big reason why I chose it after not seeing it for so many years was we're all recent college graduates within a year or two. And that's sort of the setup for the movie is a guy comes back from college, just doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. Is sick of having pressure about it all and just kind of decides to do nothing.
Yeah, he just kind of shuts down and rejects it all. It's like, I don't know, I guess I'll do nothing.
And so you were saying earlier that's why you didn't want to watch the movie. Was there any part of it for you, I guess, where it was very relatable, or that maybe gave you a perspective on how you felt at certain times?
I don't really know, to be honest. I was trying to pay attention to what was going on with Dustin Hoffman's character, but it was hard to focus when everything he did was just, he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that's a good, analogy, comparison, whatever the fuck you want to call it, as, to what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're always like, I need an adult. Someone help me. Someone do this. I don't know how to do taxes. What kind of insurance do I need? All that kind of shit.
Well, I think a lot of it is, because I mean, obviously his actions, the stalking and all that other crazy shit, that wasn't directly relatable, but I think the whole thing was that he didn't know what to do, so he was just doing anything that came his way. He did something. Just for the sake of doing something.
Yeah.
And it was he found one thing that he liked.
And it was once he found a routine.
Yeah.
It's that's the only thing he was certain about.
Yeah.
And I think that's the relatable part at this point, because I mean, pretty much everything I've done since graduating college has been just for the sake of doing something. I just kind of fell into it. Getting my pilot's lessons, I was not planning on doing that. It just kind of happened, because we originally got it from my dad, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'll go up for one, and then every week for the next year, I was spending all my money on that. I mean, it wasn't really a planned thing.
Yeah.
Same with all my music projects, they just kind of start happening.
Yeah.
They fizzle out whenever they do.
Mm-hmm.
I have no plan. Got a job at WISAV with no plan. Just because I was already working. I'm like, I'll get a job an hour and a half away. I can drive it every day.
Yeah.
Wasn't planning on getting it, but I guess I just did it because I didn't know what else to do. So.
With our useless degrees.
I mean, I got an international business degree, but I still haven't touched anything with it.
I think that's one of the things that really hit home for me with it was it's sort of it's a lot of people having questions for him, but no one offering answers.
Right.
It's a lot of people being like, well, what are you going to do? Or when he's in the pool after being home for a couple months, his dad comes to me, he's like, all right, it's good that you relax, but get out there and do something. And his dad's never well, let me help you. Clearly if a dude spends every single day just laying in a pool and then disappears during the night and isn't home till noon, and then that's all he does every day for months, clearly something's wrong. Yeah. And just no one gives a shit.
Which is also kind of relatable in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Because, everyone else that would be in a position to give advice, they've obviously done something already. So to me, it's they got a nice clear path to leading to where they are. But when you're at the beginning, you can't see what's going on. You don't know what path to choose. So, how do you know what there is to even do? Yeah.
And the worst part about it is, most of these people, they've been in our shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They know what it's like to have no plan. They know what it's like to not have a clear direction. But, they get older and they figure it out, but they don't try and help us.
Well, I think that's kind of coming back to the fact that to them, looking back, it's a nice clear path. Mm-hmm. They know how they got there.
Yeah.
But when you're in the beginning, you don't have anything clearly laid out for you yet, obviously. So, it's hard to have the proper perspective, I think, to offer advice to somebody. It's like starting a new job, people are like, oh, just do this, and to them it makes perfect sense, because they obviously know all the steps on how to do it. But when you're brand new, you have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
And a simple concept can still be confusing if you haven't really had the experience with it yet.
True.
There's one quote in particular that I wrote down that stood out to me where he says, he's on a date with Elaine and they're at the diner or whatever it was. And he says, it's like I'm playing some kind of game and the rules don't make any sense to me.
Oh, and then he's like, it's like we're just making it up as we go.
Yeah, or he's like, like all the adults are making the rules or something. Wait, never mind, nobody's making the rules.
The rules just make themselves.
Yeah, and I don't know, that really hit home for me, where it's like, got out of college, had a media arts degree in a state where there's no media arts whatsoever. I was like,
but why is there no media arts in Wisconsin, really? I mean, it's not like someone decided that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the way society functions isn't really because of a direct decision. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of small, build up to the structure of everything, which is hard to really. You can't figure it out if you can't see where it started from.
Yeah.
It's like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing too why I find it so interesting how he starts off having an affair with Mrs. Robinson, not being interested in Elaine at all, and then it just kind of happens that he ends up becoming obsessed to a stalkerish level with Elaine, just kind of along the way.
Yeah, I think that's because she was like the first thing that just happened to him.
Yeah.
That was kind of along the lines of what he wanted.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really active in pursuing anything that he wanted.
Yeah.
During the time, and even though she stumbled upon him, I think he just latched on to the one thing that he's like, okay, this is something I actually care about and want to pursue.
Yeah.
And he just, because it was the only thing, and he spent so long just being dragged along, I think he just latched on.
Yeah.
And didn't really know the limits.
I think that's one thing too I was kind of picking up on with his character, is how he barely ever has any agency until the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever he's at the party at the beginning, or he's with Mrs. Robinson, or he's at the hotel, it's just everyone telling him what to do, and him just being like, sure, okay. Which I think you could easily have coming out of college, where you have a very strict structure. You're an adult, but you still have, dining halls that you go to. You go to your clubs or your sports every single time, same time.
You have predetermined schedules set up by other people and institutions.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, he's dropped into the world, and they're just like, well, do what you want to do for the rest of your life. You have every possibility imaginable, but do it.
Yeah, because it goes from structured short-term goals where, when you're in school, it was nice having, okay, all I have to do is get past this, 5 months.
Yeah.
And then I get a little bit of vacation, and then, then you're looking one step farther. All I have to do is do this couple years, I'll graduate, and I'll get a job. But once you get out, there's no definite rules or structure that you have to follow. You kind of have to make it yourself. So, the minute anyone offers any kind of structure, it's pretty easy just to go along with it.
Yeah.
And then I think once he kind of learned how to make his own, I think he just ran with it too hard. He's like, okay, yeah, now I have a goal. I have a goal again, it's to, marry Elaine.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that he had at that point. That's the only definite, sure thing that he decided.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of brings it to the end of the movie where it's him and Elaine on the bus, and then you just see his face just kind of turn back to stone.
Just both of them. They just slowly come down.
They met their goals, now they have no other goals.
Yeah.
They gotta find something else to chase now.
Well, what are you going to do, right? The two ran away, so neither one of their families are going to take them back, probably. He doesn't have a car anymore because he abandoned it blocks away. He doesn't have a job. What? What are they gonna do? Yeah, she dropped out of school to go get married to the other guy, to Alpha Chad.
I don't think she dropped out though. I think her parents made her leave because of what happened with Dustin Hoffman's character.
But she went along with it and decided that it was for the best.
Yeah.
She thought she was doing the right thing.
And especially because when he goes to Berkeley to get her, the one lady that he's talking to says she left school.
Oh.
So I think that was them saying she dropped out. She's dropped out, she's just going to marry this guy.
Because that's a goal for her. That's a plan.
Yeah.
And I think, once they ran off on the bus, even she was starting to think I went from having a solid, sure future that with steps involved again.
Mm-hmm.
And then since I ran away, now it's a slave again.
Which I think it could be another thing that the movie's sort of touching on of the marriage aspect, because I found it interesting how towards the end when he is obsessed with Elaine, but it's kind of going well when he gets her back. She was talking about how she told him she might marry him, and she told Alpha Chad that she might marry him. And I just found it interesting how every character except for them in the movie is married. Because you have his parents who are married, and the Robinsons who are married. And those are really all the characters, and then Ben and Elaine.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I could almost see it being as that, getting out of college thinking that's just what you have to go for, especially with it being a movie that came out in '67.
Yeah.
And thinking like, I guess you just get married now. That's the one sort of thing you could see in the culture that everyone has.
There was a long time when I was in like high school, middle school, where I would think about after college and I wanted to be married by like 24, 25.
Yeah.
And here I am, not married. Graduated.
All right, I'm getting the hints.
Well, things are getting pushed later and later. I think that's just our generation kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
My parents got married when my dad was 25, my mom was 24. And
Yeah.
I was like old.
Yeah. Right.
So and now I'm 25. And I'm like, I just want to play Overwatch.
Watch cringe movies.
Making $14 an hour.
A job that we don't really like.
But the thing is, Elaine was so eager to marry too, and eventually she went with him.
Yeah.
And I think you can see during the last scene that he's dragging her down. She's so eager to do something about it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize that it's not necessarily the right right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so desperate for something that he's willing to drag her someone he cares about, quote unquote,
Yeah.
Down to his level of just unguided wandering.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one thing to pay attention to is how they had one date.
Mm-hmm.
And half of it he was a douchebag and took her to a strip club.
Which was hilarious.
That city castle.
That's some good twirl, though. She kept it going.
She did. The moment
It looked really tiring.
The moment where he looked at Elaine and said, "Could you do something like that?" was the funniest goddamn thing.
Which was good too, because it was a behind the shot for him.
Yeah.
A shoulder shot, so you couldn't even see his mouth moving.
Yeah. It's just all tassels. Did you guys have anything else you want to bring up as far as tone or messages of the movie? Or otherwise, I'd like to take it to a little bit more technical talk, I guess.
I just want to point out that opening scene where he's in the airplane and just surrounded by adults,
Yeah.
how all of them just looked fucking depressed as shit.
Yeah. It's a very somber opening.
And I was like, oh, is that what's around us now? Depressed adults.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty blunt with the whole thing, on how basically growing up is.
Sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it can be great if you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like his dad seemed successful and happy.
Yeah.
And Mr. Robinson, I mean, he didn't have a good marriage or anything, but he managed to, have a nice house and,
Yeah.
find some kind of quote unquote happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Even if, Mrs. Robinson wasn't following along.
Yeah.
But, they basically made it sound like, that it's basically the end of your life.
Yeah.
You just have to join the workforce, you have to become blind, you have to go into plastics.
Yeah, go into plastics.
You have to settle down, go into plastics, and then just focus on, financial success.
Well, I think one thing, too, when you're talking about how happy the adults all were, was I almost got an opposite feeling of that, where it almost seemed like everyone was just acting happy.
Well, yeah, that's
especially because there's that one scene where it's after he comes his homecoming party, and he has the scuba suit, and his dad's putting on the theatrics for the 5 people in the backyard, and he's being just so cartoonishly excited about it, and it felt so artificial to me, and just this is all just an act.
Yeah.
And what a stupid fucking gift to get somebody.
Oh.
Even if you're in LA, right? And you have, I guess, the potential to use it if you really wanted to. Like, that's what you're going to get your 21-year-old fresh out of college son is a $200 scuba suit when never before that or at any point after does he show any interest in scuba diving.
That was another thing I picked up on. It's just no one fucking cared what he wanted.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're, they're projecting their, desires onto him. Because, like Mr. Robinson was talking about how, it's a good age to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's projecting that. I was like, you're playing the happy few. It's that kind of thing. Like, part being an adult is just putting on a happy face, like everything's awesome, even if you're actually miserable.
Yeah.
And you started to see that a little bit with Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah.
Because, like, during the scene when, she started talking, like, they started talking in bed, she started to break down, look a lot more human when she started talking about, getting pregnant in college and all that stuff like that, and how you started to sympathize a little bit with her about why she's, sleeping with Ben and doing all this stuff like that is because she's trying to find a little bit of, I don't know, just happiness in her own personality, trying to be herself a little bit.
Yeah.
Find, like, confidence and happiness in other ways, compensating for a failed marriage and everything.
Yeah.
So she's trying to pretend all, like she's all, like, manipulative and happy and in control, when in reality I think she was doing it all because she was just breaking down.
Well, especially when the whole reason she is so depressed is because she dropped out of art school because she got pregnant with Elaine and had to get married.
Right.
And then at the end of the movie, that's exactly what Ben and Elaine are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is she dropped out of school, he finished school, then they're going to get married, and they're just giving away their age right away.
So it's basically not having, like, your young adult years to yourself. They're giving up.
Yeah,
like,
that's what they're doing, yeah.
Like when a kid has to take on, like, adult responsibilities, like watching a younger sibling or something, you're giving up your childhood in order to take on full responsibilities.
That's how you get Michael Jackson.
Why?
Well, that was a big thing, was they had to take care of all his siblings because their dad was abusive.
And he would have, like, he had, like, the whole, like, Dreamland Mansion thing.
It was because he wanted to recapture his childhood that he never had.
Was it called Dreamland or something?
I think so.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Watch the South Park episode.
My little blanket. Yeah, wear that veil.
Since you guys have anything on that, otherwise I'd like to take to technical talk, I guess.
Yeah, I think we kind of hit most of the points.
Sorry, I know you've got some notes over there.
Just that, like, I thought he didn't smoke at first, and then he saw Mrs. Robinson smoking, and after, like, as soon as he had that, like, contact with her, he started smoking.
Well, and he was freaking out too. I think it was because, like, that was his first thing he started doing. That was, being an adult.
Yeah.
That was his first foray into it. And I guess if the adults smoke, all of them did.
I kind of took it as more of just a byproduct of his depression, because there's that one really good montage where after he sleeps with Mrs. Robinson for the first time, and it's just him sitting in bed, just over and over. And all these different bets, watching different TVs, drinking different beers. And, and then that's when you first start seeing him smoking. He's sitting there watching TV, smoking in his bedroom. And he looks outside, see it's sunny, and then just goes up to the pool. And it's like, that's what I took it as, but that is a good thing to point out.
I also noted that, like, when he is about to have sex with her for the first time in the hotel, how it was, like, the whole asking an adult thing.
Yeah.
Asking an adult for help to do things.
Yeah.
Or, like, because I do that. I do that a lot. Because I don't know what to do. There was that. And I guess, I feel like this is the one idea that one note that I thought would be really good, is that when you look at Dustin Hoffman's character, he starts sleeping with an older woman, and I feel like he does it because that's his insecurity of growing old a little bit. And then vice versa for Mrs. Robinson, where he's a younger man, and that's her insecurity because she, like, misses her childhood, or not childhood, but, like, her younger years.
Yeah, she's, like, trying to recapture it.
Not wanting him to get with her daughter because she's young and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I wouldn't, if I was sleeping with some, if I was in her position sleeping with a younger guy and like my daughter's age,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to date my daughter because I'd be like, that guy is having,
Yeah.
is sleeping with a married woman. I don't want someone like that with my daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also you've fucked the same guy as your daughter.
Yeah.
Which is very weird.
That was what I had.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good thing to point out. So I guess some of the technical stuff that I kind of latched onto. First off, is I know this came out in '67, but it's crazy to me that this was rated PG.
Well, it only has like a millisecond boom.
It does.
I know the tassels.
and the stripper scene.
As long as it doesn't show nipples.
But just even on like just a cerebral level, like I couldn't imagine watching this really any younger than we are now
Yeah.
and enjoying it much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the context of the movie, Like,
Yeah.
the whole core of it is about people that are in their like early 20s, mid 20s,
Yeah.
trying to be part of the world.
You just need those experiences. But I guess I was thinking maybe a side tangent that would be interesting is because you guys think of a movie like this that's rated PG that you would not expect to be rated PG.
Honestly, ratings are getting more and more like restricting now.
Yeah.
Like what used to be PG-13 are now getting bumped up and everything. And I think that has something to do with people's society's sensitivities to things, especially like sexualized things.
Yeah.
Now this would definitely be rated R specifically for those couple scenes. And just because society doesn't want her children looking at a boob.
Mm-hmm.
Which we could get on a whole side tangent on why that's a bunch of bullshit. But
You can say fuck once in a PG-13 movie though.
no, see, swearing is okay. Violence and killing is okay.
Of course.
Blood is okay.
But not nudity.
But tits?
Roll that back.
Women should never take off their shirt. It's disgusting.
It's repulsive. I guess one of the other big ones for me that I would think wouldn't be PG is Jaws.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, that's going into the violence being more okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you see Quinn or whatever his name is get fucking eaten in half.
Yeah, but see, that's scaring people away. You know what? What's more important, scaring people from sharks or scaring people from boobs?
I guess, yeah. And funny in between, the actor who played Mr. Robinson is also in Jaws. He's the mayor. I just realized that. So I guess one of the other things I wanted to talk about was the introduction of the movie. Because you start off with him on the plane, which Sureyya already brought up, and just a very up-close personal shot of his face, pan out, full depressed airplane.
What did it say? That he's fucking tan in that movie.
He is very
He
tan.
was so tan.
Well, he spends all day just sitting out doing nothing.
But then you go from that, and then you have the
The
intro credits as he's going to the airport, and Simon and Garfunkel start playing.
I love Simon and Garfunkel.
But then even beyond that, I also thought the homecoming party was a really good introduction.
Oh, yeah.
And just the entire time, like, really close up on his face. And it's such a good way of, you immediately know where the character's at. And you can immediately relate to every single interaction he has with people.
Because it's claustrophobic,
Yeah.
And, like, you can just feel the tension rise every time someone grabs him.
Yeah.
And tries to get his attention.
It's like he just can't breathe. Anytime he has a second to himself, someone else comes over to talk to him about plastics or the track team.
But I feel like that's generally how, like, that wasn't a graduation, though, was it?
Yeah.
Well, he was graduated, but it was
It was for the award he got.
it was like a homecoming party because he went off to college in the East.
Okay.
And then he came back to LA and he was like, I'm home again. I'm back. And somebody had people over to welcome him
Well,
home.
because I was thinking, like, if it was like a graduation party or any kind of like award party, that's what that is.
Yeah.
That party it embraces what I think one of those parties would be like. 'Cause, I mean, I didn't have a graduation party for myself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even just, like, after the actual ceremony, where everyone's outside taking pictures, it's like everyone's fucking grabbing you, asking you questions.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god.
Because you get the feeling how it's not about you, it's about everybody else. Like, that's why you go to birthday parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's never for the person, really.
It's for the event.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but like, especially after graduating, it didn't really feel like an accomplishment.
Yeah.
When you've done anything, usually it seems like an accomplishment to anyone that hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Or, that's done it like a long time ago or whatever. Like, getting my pilot's license, I thought it was going to be a big thing. But when I got it, I was like, all right, finally, I just got it, it's done, I can move on. It wasn't like worth celebrating.
Yeah.
Graduating college wasn't really worth celebrating,
it's just
especially
like,
college, because that's something we just have to do.
It just feels like another day.
Yeah.
And everyone else is trying to project their, they want to feel that feeling of success and accomplishment again, so they like push it on you. Like the parents are so proud, Ben graduated, look how awesome we are for having a kid that can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Which, it's good for, they need that.
Yeah.
It wasn't about Ben.
Yeah. Well, I think too, there's always that psychology aspect, where it's always the enjoying part of doing anything is getting close to finishing it. It's not finishing it. So you're like, okay, what's next?
Right.
And so the best part is always like when you're close, and you're like, I'm so close to finishing something.
Just edging.
Yeah, I just gotta edge the entire time.
I was gonna say, like you're just about to come.
And when you come, you realize that you're fucking a married 40-year-old woman.
I guess one of the other things Sureyya brought up a little bit is the music. So all the music was done by Simon and Garfunkel. What do you guys think about it?
I didn't like that they repeated the same song like 2 or 3 times in a row.
Okay.
But I feel like it was supposed to be symbolic in a sense.
Yeah.
And I did not pick up on that at all.
Yeah, I think the repetitiveness kind of is more about setting the repetitiveness of the mood and his actions and emotions. How like the one song was playing when he was driving to Berkeley, and then the same thing was playing, back when he came home.
The Parsley song?
Yeah, but it's about the motif, how like it's still the same.
Yeah. Well, because you have the motif of him being depressed, because you have Sound of Silence at the beginning, once he's in the relationship with Mrs. Robinson, but he's depressed. And then you get the new motif when he's obsessed with Elaine, with the Mountain Parsley Fair song.
Because he only has the one thing.
That just keeps playing over and over. And then at the end, because he's depressed again, you get Sound of Silence again.
I did not pick up on that.
And I liked how it used Sound of Silence. I thought it worked really well. But once it started getting towards that song about going to the fair, it was just it was a bit too much, I thought, because it was like well, I guess there was 2 in that section, because you had it when he was chasing her and you had Scarberry Fair, and it would like play the whole fucking song, and it would play the whole fucking song again, and that was a little bit too much for me. And then you also had the Mrs. Robinson song when he was like chasing her. So I guess there's like 3 motifs really, but I thought it worked a solid 75% of the time. It was a little too close time-wise at some parts for me, though.
In a way that almost felt like, because he was so one-track thing, it was almost like a hectic, chaotic kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Where it's just the same thing repeating in his head, like,
yeah,
I gotta find the lane,
Yep. Especially when it is the fair song, and like all the lines are like mixing over each other and like just intermingling the verses and stuff. It gave it a very eclectic sort of feel, like he was at the moment.
Did they play Mrs. Robinson?
Yeah, that's when they played like a stripped down version of it.
Yeah, like whenever he's driving, they're doing the do 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 do, and they just kept doing that every single time he was driving from LA to Berkeley, back to LA, back to Berkeley, back to LA, back to Berkeley, back to Santa Barbara.
One track mind focused on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty creative way of like giving insight into his mindset.
Definitely, yeah, I think so too. And it all fit the mood pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And I especially love how this movie back in '67 kind of made the Sound of Silence meme. It's like, he has sex with Mrs. Robinson, and it's just black, and it starts playing just like the meme was.
at the end, you know, like
Yeah.
you just see a picture of him with, like, if you didn't know the context, you just see him, picture of a girl in a wedding dress. And
That just really stuck out to me when we were watching. I was like, these guys made memes in '67. So I just have two other things real quick. The most broad one, I guess, would be the comedy. I was wondering how it struck you guys funny-wise. I'm really curious about you, Sureyya, because I felt the two main sort of styles of comedy here were very dry humor and very cringe humor. And I don't really associate you too much with either one of those. Kind of cringe humor, but definitely not dry humor. So I was wondering what you thought of the comedy of the movie.
I don't really know what to think about it. It was definitely cringy, and it made me not want to watch. But it was also like super funny and super relatable at the same time. I didn't really put much thought into it, to be honest.
I was gonna say, like, a lot of the parts that I thought were funny, you know, just his, like, confusion. What? He'd be like, okay, yeah, this is where it's going, and then someone will flip it, and he's just like, his brain just shuts down. You know, we've all been there. It's just like, what? You know, like,
this is too much information.
See, all of that stuff was just, the fact that it's like, we've all felt like that before. Like, when he's like, you know, how do we get to the church?
Yep.
You know, and like the minute he realized that the gas station attendant was going to take more than like a millisecond, you know, like, we've all been there.
Yeah, definitely.
Or like running up and saving Elaine's dad. Like, it was such a genuine like shock. Like, so all of his reactions were like when his brain was just like going down the street, then all of a sudden just made a hard laugh. So I thought it was hilarious because, like, I'm like, yeah, I've been in that position before. Maybe not, like, in that situation.
Yeah.
But I've been in that mental state. I thought it was fucking great. I loved it.
I guess one other thing I just kind of thought of while we were talking about the comedy, it's kind of dawning on me, is would you guys classify this as a drama?
I wouldn't.
You would? Because it is very, very funny.
And it's all about the interweaving relationships and storylines between, you know, Ben and Elaine and Mrs. and Mr. Robinson and his parents. You know, it really is about the underlying emotional aspect connections.
Okay.
So I would say it's a drama.
I guess, yeah. I was honestly, I have the Google page up right now, and I saw it listed as romance comedy. And I was like, I hope this isn't another Team America.
I don't think it's a rom-com.
Well, especially when you do. I guess when I think about it more, you know, this isn't like an Adam Sandler movie or like Hangover, where the only substance is the comedy.
Right.
Because it very clearly has a message. It very clearly is exploring something, and the comedy is kind of just a byproduct of the situations and the characters.
And the romance as well. I really think it used romance as a way to convey, like, the romance parts with, you know, the relationships between him and Elaine and stuff, the love.
Yeah.
As it was more of a vehicle for the message instead of the plot being a vehicle for romance.
Especially when you look at the two romances in this movie, they both fucking suck.
Yeah.
One is like terribly toxic and purely carnal, and then the other one is very misguided and impulsive.
Yeah. You know, so I would say it's definitely a drama because even as the comedy goes, the comedy was a means of showing Ben's character and what's going on in his head. But all the parts that were funny, like his impatience, you know, and his, you know, constant surprise and confusion. Yeah. You know, that was only in there to be like, okay, yeah, that's where his head's at right now. So, yeah.
Well, I looked up the definition of drama. The Wikipedia page for drama in film and television is drama is a genre of narrative fiction intended to be more serious than humorous in tone. So I feel like
that kind of rides the line.
I think it was a means to be serious, though. You know, it's kind of
yeah. Especially because you get to the end and it's just like, oh, it's just really sad.
Yeah. Very somber.
I just want to point out that I really liked the shadows.
Yes.
There was a lot of kind of like patterns to it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at the background, it just really stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And it had just.
Yeah. I thought one thing too that it did really interesting with the shadows is this movie was oddly okay with covering up the camera. Like even in the introduction when his dad's talking to him and his mom comes in, she just completely obscures the shot for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Or, you know, he'd be talking to Mrs. Robinson and he'd walk over and be really close to the camera and he'd be completely blacked out and covering like a whole third of the screen.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really interesting way of sort of putting us in his perspective, but keeping him in frame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of gave the sense of distance, like there's almost like a barrier between the world and, you know, us.
Yeah.
Which I felt, so maybe that's what Ben was going through too.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, when you don't know what's happening around you, you just kind of develop this like haze where your body's functioning in it, but your brain isn't engaged.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like that with a lot of the shots in this movie.
Yeah.
Where it was like, here, you're supposed to watch it, but you don't really feel like you're part of the scene anymore.
Yeah. I thought this was actually a really good segue straight into my other thing. I wanted to talk about how it was shot a bit. And if any shots sort of stood out to you guys. One of the ones that really stood out to me was when Ben tells Elaine that he was having sex with her mom. And then there's that shot where he leaves and Elaine closes the door. And he turns to his right, and it's like a close-up on Mrs. Robinson. And she has that, like, terrifying look on her face. And then it just...
She's gonna kill herself.
It was really scary. And then it, like, did that slow zoom out, and she was just, like, in the corner, like, it was almost like a horror villain.
She's so distant.
Yeah. And it was just, like, it almost just felt like the entire world was just, like, shrinking away from you.
Right, you get that, like, tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Like, you know... Like, I don't know if you guys ever had any of those, like, social situations when, like, you think you may have, like, really burned the bridges or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the moment, everything just kind of tunnel visions.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I was getting, because I feel like he was so hasty to try and beat Mrs. Robinson to the punch.
Yeah.
That the reality of what happened really didn't set in until he saw Mrs. Robinson standing there.
Yeah.
Some scenes that I thought were interesting were where he's like, it's always when he's in the pool and he's looking up to the adults.
Yeah.
And how, like, the one scene where his dad's talking to him about graduate school.
Yeah.
And, like, his dad's face just keeps getting cut off by the sunlight.
Yeah.
Multiple times. There was that, and then there was also the time where it was his mom and dad, and then Mr. and Mrs. Robinson come in.
Yeah.
That was also really, it was weird.
It was.
It was a weird feeling scene.
I thought the movie did a really good job, though, of sort of funneling his perspective on things without making it seem forced.
Right.
Like that scene where it's like you don't really notice much that their faces are completely cut off or why they're completely cut off, but then when you really look at it, it makes a lot of sense.
And also, both of those scenes just made you feel really small.
Mm-hmm.
I felt really small.
Or like, you know, when he got the scoop suit and he kept coming up and his dad would put his hand
Push him back down.
I mean, that's very metaphoric.
Yeah, definitely.
For like the situation, how eventually he just gives up and stays under there.
Yeah. And the entire time he's walking out there, he can't hear anybody. Mm-hmm. And then later when Elaine is about to leave the altar, she's looking at people and can't hear anything that they're saying.
I thought that was between her and Dustin Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're kind of in the same situation.
Okay.
In a sense.
Yeah. No, I think definitely.
Yeah.
One of the other things I think is interesting is there's a bit of, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there's a thing in, I don't know what you call it, film, I guess, where your opening shot and your closing shot should somehow communicate in some sort of way. And I thought the way that this movie did it was really interesting. And the first shot is close up on his face and zooming away to show the interior of the plane. And then the last shot is back of his head, zooming away to see the exterior of the bus.
Okay.
I guess I was wondering if you guys maybe had any thoughts on that sort of relation between the two. Because he definitely goes through an arc, but it's kind of an arc that ends back where it began, in a weird way.
I mean, in more than just this movie, but like when movies open and close with travel scenes,
Yeah.
you know, it's like in the beginning, we didn't really know where his backstory was, where he came from. And in the end, as it's driving away, you don't know what the next. It basically cuts off and defines that it's unknown.
Yeah.
Past that point. Which a lot of movies are like, will set up so like, okay, this happens after the movie's over, so that we have an idea of what happens for the rest of their lives, blah, blah, blah. And the whole point of this was, they didn't know, so why should we know? But overall, there's a lot of scenes that are even just artistically, like even if they're not meant for storytelling, were like really good shots.
Oh yeah.
Like just even the simple pan over his, I think it was one of them off there. I think it was his dad, and you just see his reflection still in the mirror.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. It's like it's not like they thought about every shot that they did.
Or the one scene when during his depression montage. That whole montage was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's one in there where he's in the hotel room and the camera's behind the TV and you see Mrs. Robinson walking back and forth. He doesn't even look at her.
Yeah.
Or
the scene where she like jumps up on top of him and it like kind of.
Oh, where he jumps onto the pool floaty.
Yeah.
And it cuts that into him jumping on top of her.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good one. And then the other one I liked too was when he's just sitting in a dark room and he gets up and there's like the open door and all this light pouring in and his parents and he just silently closes it as they're watching. Just goes and sits back down alone. I thought that montage really encapsulated the mundaneness of depression and how it is just so isolatory and just so bland
and self-spiraling.
Yeah.
How, if you really look at it, he was the cause to all his own problems.
Yeah.
The entire time. But it's easy to get into that, setting where he doesn't want to deal with his parents or the responsibility of life or thinking ahead or anything. So he shuts himself out and gets rid of the possibility for a future.
He's just giving up. Well, did you guys have any other closing thoughts then? That's all everything I had.
No, I'm sure if I watched it again, I could try and find a couple more things.
Yeah.
But I think that's, for first watch.
That's pretty comprehensive. I guess, sort of for our last thing then, I'll say it's ratings, then we can kind of give it our own ratings. So on IMDb, it has an 8 out of 10. On Metacritic, it has a 77. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 89%. So, Sureyya, what would you, out of 10, give The Graduate?
I'd give it like a 7 to an 8.
7 to an 8. Any reasoning behind that, or?
No, not really.
No?
I don't think it's like a movie.
Okay.
I might have to watch it again. I don't want to say that, but...
I could barely get you to watch it the first time.
Exactly.
Marty, what would you rate The Graduate?
I'd give it an 8 or 8.5 just because it's kind of been sticking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, a lot. It pushes a lot of buttons.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't do a lot of extended shit, so this
Well,
that's why I wanted to watch this. I have been too.
I actually have a question I just came up with. Would you say...
Sorry.
Would you say that this movie would better relate to people when it first came out, or like to young people when it first came out, or would you say that it would relate to like people like us, our generation?
Well, that's kind of one of the interesting things I think about it is that it did come out 50 years ago now, and yet it is really relevant.
It's super relevant.
Yeah.
I feel like it was always relevant to everybody's generation to an extent, but I think especially during the 60s, there's such a social revolution in some ways between like Vietnam, the hippie movement, like the change in structure on like what someone was supposed to do with their lives, compared to the 50s, and then today, I think we're also going through a little bit of a social like revolution in that sense where it's exceedingly difficult to try and find a place in the world today. Because the rules on what we're supposed to do are not only changing but becoming more unobtainable, I think.
Yeah.
It's almost like it was almost like the beginning and the end of the American dream during the 60s.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really capping off now.
Well, especially nowadays, when we are so connected to all the information in the world, it's so hard to give a shit. When it's just every day there's new shit that you're supposed to be mad about. that you're supposed to care about and that you're supposed to keep track of. And it's just, I mean,
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you take in all of that and care about it?
That's why something like this or Big Lebowski or even Office Space is so appealing, of just the idea of just being able to just go, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to care anymore. I'm going to go lay in the pool.
Well, because, you know, the big problem is, like, everything is so macro scale now.
Yeah.
That it feels like no matter where you go in the world, you can't really escape from it. Like, when we're stuck on this, the planet seems so small and it's not big enough to escape some of these problems and these pressures and these responsibilities that, you know, I feel like Reddit's not helping.
Yeah, Reddit's not helping. Dude, I got to get off Reddit.
But social media,
it's killing me.
It's making the world seem so small that you can never escape, no matter what you do. So people just shut off in their own little worlds and try and become so self-centered in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I'm guilty of it. I think everyone's guilty of it.
Yeah.
As a self-defense mechanism against reality.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
people get mad at you for not wanting to, like, have any part of it.
Yeah.
And they're looked down upon. And then it's just like, I feel like it's a vicious cycle.
Definitely. Well, then my rating is, I guess we're all pretty much in agreement. I'd also give it an 8. I love movies that have a deeper discussion to them. This one definitely did. It's beautiful. It's made with a lot of purpose. But it's also a joy to watch for the most part because it's so funny. And I also just find it really interesting how I haven't found any other piece of media except for like maybe one game that really tackles this point in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's one reason why I've been wanting to watch it so much lately, is feeling this way and feeling like this is the only really thing I could think of where I could connect to it in that way and really examine it from another perspective.
Well, I feel like it gives, I guess it's not blatant, but it gives a voice to a problem that's hard to give a voice behind.
It's very abstract. Yeah. Right.
It's like music in the sense that sometimes being abstract is a more direct way of actually explaining a situation or a problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there was I read this one book, this is a bit of a side tangent, called The Romantic Manifesto by Ayn Rand. And one of you did. And one of the things I found really interesting in it was how she talked about why music is so powerful emotionally. And that it's because every other form of art, you need to create a situation and then use that situation to give an emotion to the viewer. Whereas music, you just give the emotion.
You're cutting out the middleman.
And then they put in the situation by themselves.
Yeah.
And I always found that really interesting.
Well, it makes it much more, like, personal. Because you can always find a way to relate yourself to it instead of trying to find a way to relate yourself. So.
And it's much easier, I think, to enjoy a lot of different types of music from different perspectives, whereas a lot of movies, it's like, well, you know, I don't really know if I can put myself in the shoes of...
It's either you can or you can't.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for The Graduate, then.
Yes.
Marty, you're choosing our next movie for the drama rotation, which we'll watch for next weekend.
I'm going to go even older and do Rear Window.
Rear Window.
We were talking about it.
We were.
Now I want to watch it.
Okay.
And I'm excited for Sureyya to see it.
Yeah. Is that a drama?
It's a drama.
No, you can apply it as a drama.
It's all about the inner workings of drama within his own.
Definitely. It's very thrillery.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the problem with this, though, is so many of the movies are so many genres that it's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, in my drama is more about internal conflict.
Yeah,
this movie being only in the one, really about the one character in the one setting. All the action is going on really in his own head.
Definitely.
And his perspective.
This is the one that's kind of like, or that is like the original Disturbia, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Shia LaBeouf Disturbia.
This is the good version of Disturbia.
Pretty much, yeah. Did you like Disturbia, sir?
I've only seen that movie like once.
Answer the question.
I thought the concept was pretty cool. I mean...
This movie's got that concept in spades.
I
think you'll like it. I like it. I'm a Hitchcock fan.
The 50s were a very divisive time, I guess, is my perspective, because there's some movies that were absolute garbage, but that's right when some of them started to get it.
Yeah. Well, there's just such a changing culture, I think, in film, where it was really starting to become an art form rather than
entertainment.
Yeah. I guess, every media sort of goes through that. Like, I think video games are starting to get there.
Yeah.
Like, we kind of had it early a little bit with, like, Spec Ops: The Line, and even, some older, like, PS2 games like LSD, or I think that was PS1. But, it was there. But now you have, like, God of War and Red Dead 2 and the fucking, what's that one studio with the French dude that bottled Ellen Page's vagina?
What?
I forgot what that was called, but yeah.
The dude who makes like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls and Detroit.
I don't know him.
David something. But yeah, like those fuckers. God, I hate those games.
I love Heavy Rain.
I know you do. But I think video games are starting to get there, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's because society is starting to need it again.
Yeah.
Where people are getting into such a headspace where we need to find some way to express, like, the inner trauma.
Definitely. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Deus Ex Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Clues. I had Sureyya Uchuk and Marty Adams with me. If you'd like to follow us, we are Deus Ex Cinema on iTunes and SoundCloud. Default White Guys on YouTube and Instagram. If you want to follow us there, we also do gameplay videos, other random shit.
I think we need to drink.
We'll see you next time.